Last on my agenda at least is FREX, and I'll just make a brief statement and then be happy to answer questions on that or any other subject you might want to address. I have made a management decision to discontinue FREX, the Front Range Express service to Denver, as of the end of August, which is the end of our current contract on FREX. You may recall last week City Council voted 6-3 to continue the intergovernmental agreement on FREX with PPRTA and others. And but at the same time, I have the authority to either continue or not continue the contract. This is one of those very hard decisions that I've talked about for months. I knew we would have to make, because FREX does serve people in our community. Approximately 75 of our citizens get on FREX every day to Denver. Another 75 board in Monument. And then there are also about 50 people that board in Denver coming the other way. So FREX serves the equivalent of about 200 people a day, of which 75 embark from Colorado Springs. At the same time, our local bus system serves about 4,000 people locally. And the difficulty here is that when FREX was conceived, from what I understand, there was no long-term funding plan. It was a grant, I believe, that enabled us to initiate that program. That grant expired. The city chose to sell some of the buses to continue the service at a lesser rate. And now we're at a point where we have to make a choice. This is an example of how we must, as hard as it is, move to priorities-based budgeting to do the most good for the most people. So FREX serves a couple hundred people a day, of which 75 board in Colorado Springs. We know that the average income of FREX riders is about $72,000 a year. We're losing, there's a deficit of $800,000 a year today on that service, and it's going to grow to about $1.5 million within a couple of years, because costs are rising much faster than revenue. We could double rates, but that wouldn't get it done, even if people would pay double the fare to Denver and back. At the same time, we have a diminished, as you know, local bus service. In this last recession, the city cut back drastically on our local bus service, and even today, we're not able to maintain evening and Sunday service, which bothers me a lot, because there are people that can't get to work at night, who can't go grocery shopping on a Sunday, who need transit, but we're not able to do that at this point. And so I had to make a judgment on what is more important, continuing a service to Denver or trying to shore up our local bus system. The typical local bus rider is someone who earns in the range of $15,000 to $20,000 a year. I think the statistics are that about 2/3 of our local bus riders earn $20,000 or less per year. In fact, 51% of our local bus riders earn $15,000 or less a year, compared to $72,000 a year for the typical FREX rider. So that weighed heavily on my decision. I'm hoping that CDOT will do the right thing. We have talked to them about this. They say hopefully in the future they can establish a van pool program from Pueblo to Fort Collins. I hope they will expedite that. And I should also add, on this service that we've been maintaining, although it serves people from Denver, Denver contributes nothing financially to this program, nor does Castle Rock. So we in El Paso County and Colorado Springs through PPRTA have been funding this on our own, and we simply can't continue to do it. It's a regrettable situation, but one I feel I have to make in order to do the most good for the most people. And I'm more concerned about local folks who are low income, who need to get to work or get to school or get to a doctor. I have to be more concerned about them than about folks that need a ride to Denver. One of those tough choices. I'd be glad to take any questions you have on that or any other subject. Yes, Eva.
If you intended to cut it, why did you bring it to council?
Well, first of all, we think we owe council that courtesy to inform them of what we're thinking and where we're headed, and wanted to have if we could, a collaborative decision. And we thought maybe there'd be some ideas among council that could help. In fact, at the council meeting last Tuesday, Councilor Jan Martin suggested that perhaps PPRTA would be willing to advance more funds to keep FREX going, which was an interesting idea that she had. And so we went to the PPRTA and asked if they could help additionally, and they were not able to do so. And that's really what drives the decision today, is that we've exhausted our efforts to try to find funding help from PPRTA, from the county, from Monument, from Denver.
But you only went to the RTA just recently, I think it was last week, right?
Would you give her the mics? I can't hear her.
I said that you only went to the RTA last week, right? I mean, this has been something that's been floating around for a very long time, and the RTA is the funder, so it would seem that they would have been consulted earlier.
Oh no, I believe we've had ongoing conversations with PPRTA staff over time. This matter has come up several times, certainly since I've been here, and I think previously. And I think we were all hoping that something would come forward. Either CDOT would accelerate its ability to help. Steve Cox and I, in fact, our Chief of Economic Vitality, and I drove to Denver and met with Don Hunt, the CDOT director, to tell him that we were on the cusp of having to terminate FREX and asking if the state of Colorado could help us in an attempt to try to keep it going. And Don just said he couldn't do it. And the same with PPRTA.
But PPRTA was not the board was not formally presented with this as an item ever, I don't believe, right?
Well, I don't know that. What I know is that we have a deficit of $800,000 a year on this service, and at the same time we are also running, of course, a deficit on local service. And if we were to continue FREX, then we'd be faced with a decision: do we cut back local bus service even more than we already have, which is the last thing I think we should do.
Well, and then my other question is that it was.
Excuse me, Cindy, we've had enough questions. Let's move this question. Let's